Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Richardson, and today we are wrapping up this weekend with Module 6, where we're talking about voter IDs and all that really cool stuff. You'll notice that voter ID laws have changed tremendously throughout the past decade, easily. You've had various states require IDs. Most states it was implied that you had to bring an ID in order to show that proof of citizenship in order to vote. So I think I mentioned in the in the discussion board how that the state of Georgia, all the southern states were looking at the Georgia Supreme Court when it came to voter ID laws. Maybe 6-7 years ago now, if that. So this is still new territory. This used to never be a problem. So it's interesting how things have always been status quo and how things change all of a sudden. And now we have issues that arise from one year to the next. So I would say over the next few years, you'll start to see voter ID laws kind of like quieten down a little bit. And with that being said, you should be able to see, hopefully a smoother election process, whether it's the regular midterm elections, special elections, or the big one with the presidential election and governor's elections in tow. All right, so this is the end of week 6. I have finished grading, obviously, all the rough drafts. Thank you so much for your on-time response to those. I will make a point of mentioning that I've noticed that only a few of you have actually read the feedback in the assignments tab. Even though I have emailed each and every single one of you your feedback on your rough drafts, please go back into the assignments tab and read those as well. I did the emails this term as a matter of convenience for you to get you started until you got home and was able to pull up your course and be able to go into it and actually look at your comments in there. So please make sure that you go and do that as well. They work together, so don't do one without the other. So please go and read your feedback on that. Like I said, I've only noticed a couple of you have actually went back into the assignments tab and done that. So everybody, please go do that. For the most part, you guys are on track. You're not gonna ace a rough draft. It's a rough draft. So that's why it's only worth 80 points. Module 7, next week, your final paper is worth 3 times that much. It's worth 240 points. So this is why I put so much stress on Module 5 on the rough draft, because you want to get hammered here and not on the final copy, if you understand. This is the way that you want it. Please read the emails I send you. I don't send you many at all. This is probably the most I've sent a class because I'm trying to see if this will actually work, and for the most part, it has worked. I only got a handful of papers that didn't have the headings, so I inserted those headings. Those headings that I gave you in your emails and in the announcements, they're a writing style requirement. It's not me. It's a writing style requirement. You have to have them. If I told you that you had an essay to write, the essay would not have headings. This is a paper. It has to have headings because you have to section it off for the reader. And guess what, guys? It's easy for you to write then. That's why I gave you that email last Sunday with the headings already in there, and the title page, what you put on it, the abstract page, and then the third page was like all the headings. All you had to do was just fill it in with your research. How easy is that? And most of you guys took me up on that. Kudos to you. Thank you so much. And then your references. Please, with the reference pages, if I have corrected your references, then please accept the changes because I've put it in proper format for you. I gave you a Christmas present. Accept it. Okay, so please do that. So this is what happens. Because you already have your rough drafts back, you are going to make those corrections that I gave you this weekend. The first of next week, then you are going to send it back to Smart Thinking. Folks, I can tell you, I know exactly who has sent their paper to Smart Thinking and who hasn't. It is night and day. It's a difference between an A and a C. It is that huge, folks. Send your papers on to Smart Thinking, please. It's your grade. So, and you know what? It's part of your package, your education package here at Southern New Hampshire. Use it. Please use it. It's part of your package. Just send it off. You don't see anybody, send it off. It'll give you a day to clear your head. You'll get it back in your email. You'll open it up. They will rip it apart too, and then you will make their corrections and then submit your final copy by Sunday, April 22nd, into your Module 7 for grading. Some of you did such an exceptional job that I don't see why you can't submit this weekend because you have minor changes. As you can see, I'm very blunt in the comments on the feedback. Do not take offense. These are things I have been telling you from the very beginning in the discussion boards all the way through. There is no first person writing. All the I, me, my, you, we, all that stuff, all the pronouns does not exist in scholarly writing. Take those out. I believe, I think, I know. Great. But I need you to remove those. I need that scholarly research put into place. Okay? If you notice where I have actually put in where you need to add more, it's because I need you to meet the minimum requirements for the paper. 5 full pages for the body. Go back to Module 5 in the Tuesday announcements, and that's where I give you the page links. Okay? I also emailed it to you the Sunday before. So look in your email. You don't have many from me at all. Probably 3 at the most in your email, which includes the feedback that I just emailed you on your paper. And so it shouldn't be that difficult to actually do a search for my name and find those emails. The other thing that I want to go over with you real quick is I'm going to read for a second. I was reading last night for my one of my law classes. I was doing some reading last night, and it talked about how to have a plan when you write. So I kind of wanted to share that with you to let you know that it's just not me, that this is what you need to do in the writing process. And with that being said, you know, you guys have such a great team. And that's the one thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is that it's not just you as a student and me as a professor having this exchange with your paper. You have a whole writing team at your university, which is phenomenal. You have like Net Tutor, you have Smart Thinking. They're going to go through the flow and the how things work inside your paper. I'm going to go through and do the fine tuning of the grammar and the sentence structure and all that kind of stuff in the process. So between them going through the flow and things being in there and me going through the other part, and with you taking it upon yourself to make those corrections, you literally have like 3 or 4 people on your team, if not more, but just immediately on your team. So keep that in mind as you're going through those corrections and you're going, oh my goodness, because it's really not as bad as you think. Because I have actually repeated myself many times in your paper. So what you do to one, you would do to the other. So it's really not as bad as you think. That's why these corrections won't take as long. But here is, and pardon me because I am going to look down and look back up and read for just a few seconds. It says here that, you know, a paper comprises of 3 elements. 3. Your introduction, okay, your discussion, and your conclusion. And I want you to keep these in mind as you're looking at your own rough draft. Your introduction should explain what you're setting out to do, okay? And then your discussion should display the relevant information derived from the appropriate sources and show clearly on what side of the argument each piece falls on. The conclusion should sum up the main points you've made and make clear your conclusions regarding the question that you asked. The question that it is talking about is your thesis statement that's in your introduction. That's why I have tried so hard to get you guys to narrow this thing down, because you're going to answer it in the end. Okay? So that's where these concepts come into play. I'm going to paraphrase this real quick here because there was like a lot of good stuff. I was like super excited when I was reading this. I was like, yay. they're still teaching this, so that's awesome. But the conclusion is where you summarize your analysis. There's no new information in your conclusion at all. And then in the body of your paper is the application. It's where you're taking the law and the policy, any governmental agencies or organizations that have regulations and policies. That's where you're bringing this governmental component into your paper. I've noticed with some papers, you wrote a really good paper, but where does the federal government come in? Remember, this class is American politics, okay? So here's a couple things, a couple thoughts to leave you with, okay? Find a period in which you can work on your paper reasonably and yet undisturbed. That quiet space, that is so hard. That is so hard for me. I had to go rent an office just to get away from people so that I could concentrate on my work, because I have so many distractions. I have family. My kid is overseas at school. She contacts me all the time. I have dogs that think that they're human, and I literally had to go rent a separate office space that no one knows me. No one knows where I'm at, and I can just get to work. You may not be able to do that, or you may not care to do that, but remember, find that quiet space. It could be a Starbucks, it could be a cafe with an internet cafe, could be the library, could be in a park. I used to change it up when I was I'm actively back in school again myself. I'm in law school now myself, so I have to study at night after everybody goes to bed, so I understand what y'all are going through, and I literally would change it up. So every week I would go to a Barnes and Noble, and then the following week I would go to a Starbucks, and then the following week I would go somewhere else. I was constantly changing it up. That way it wouldn't be the dreaded bookstore cafe, okay? The second point I want to bring up to you is the hardest parts to write are often the introduction and or the conclusion, so leave these until last. I told you guys this. That's where I got really excited. Yes, I am a word geek at heart. The abstract, the introduction, the conclusion will always be last. I gave you guys 3 headings in the body, which fit your grading rubric if you have not noticed: your perspectives, your policymaking process, and your political challenges. Knock those out first. Then go back, do your introduction, do your conclusion, and then do your abstract. Okay? The introduction is the movie trailer. Okay? The previews that you go to the movies and you see before the actual feature presentation. Your paper is the feature presentation. So what is in your introduction? What is the actual trailer, the preview of what is to come? Okay, what it makes it enticing to make that happen? And then the conclusion. Yeah, the conclusion answers the introduction, based off of the argument that you have provided in the middle, okay? The body of your paper is the introduction through the conclusion. So when we're talking 5 to 7 pages for the body, we're talking from the introduction through the end of the conclusion, okay? Just give you a heads up. Pace yourself. Now, when I was in undergrad, not that long ago, but long ago, when I was in undergrad, I used to crank out a paper on the day it was due. I finally just gave it up and said, I'm just going to crank this puppy out. And I would sit there and do that. I would spend 10, 12, 14 hours, lock myself up and crank out a paper and make an A. One time, I actually sat down and said, I'm going to do 1 section a day or 1 section every couple of days and spread it out over 2 weeks, and I got a C. I went back to cranking it out on the day of, went back to making A's. So there you go. But this whole thing about working better under pressure that some of us may feel like that we can do, and I feel like I can do it too. I wouldn't do it now, though, now that I'm older. But it's rarely the best that we can do, because we are not convinced as to what our paper is about. when you're sitting there and you're cranking it out and you're pushing it through. We're not giving it the full attention that it needs. So I don't do that anymore because so much, when you get to a certain level of education, it is fully based off of scholarly research, 1,000,000%. And you're all the time introducing thoughts and backing yourself up and intertwining it. And it's a lot worse than this that you're doing right now, believe me. The next piece of advice is never miss an opportunity to check your work before submitting it. I am the best person ever at checking my work after I've hit the send button. Oh my goodness, I could have proofread this paper 1,000,000 times. I could have given it to anybody else to proofread. And as soon as I hit that submit button, man, I find all kinds of things. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I just sent this thing. I've read this thing for 3 days. Why did I not see this? Yeah, that's me. So always make sure that you give yourself the opportunity. And you know what? I told you about Grammarly. I even did your Grammarly reports for you for your rough drafts. You can do Grammarly without paying for it with their basic service. I pay for their full service, which is what I give you guys with your track changes in your Word document. You got Grammarly. You also have spell check in the discussion boards. So lowercase i's for the pronoun does not even need to exist. It should be an uppercase I in case you forget. Do the spell check. You have a little check mark on the box for your discussion board. Hit that, do a spell check. You can't get much easier than today with technology. So make sure that you do that, okay? Give yourself the opportunity to check your work because it is your work. It's not mine, it's yours. So there you go. So anyway, I wanted to kind of bring these little reminders to you that, you know, these are being published in books, these reminders I'm giving you. And so it shouldn't be this brand new wow process. I didn't know this. They've been published in books for a very long time, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys a friendly reminder as to what the writing process is. So make your corrections to your rough drafts that I have submitted back to you this weekend. Get them to Smart Thinking by Monday. Make their corrections throughout the week and go ahead. Do not wait till Sunday of next week. Just go ahead and submit it and let's get it over with and get it graded and let's start wrapping this course up, okay? I will see you next week. There is no discussion board next week. You do have to finish your discussion board for this weekend by Sunday night, responding to 2 classmates, and any quizzes and get the gist questions that you need to do. Makeup work, everything should be made up at this point, except for if you've missed any discussion boards, they cannot be made up, but the get the gist and the module quizzes can. So make sure that everything in your gradebook is updated up through Module 6 this weekend. And then other than that, you guys should be set because Module 7 shouldn't be that bad with your corrections, and Module 8 will be here before you know it. So we're going to aim to get those papers turned in on time because you have a due date, and that due date is set for a reason. So let's get on it, and you guys have plenty of time to get all your work accomplished. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend, and you know how to reach me. Okay, I'll see you on the boards this weekend. Bye-bye.